and Inflation Reduction Act. This information session is designed to update you on our progress and address your questions. We plan on addressing as many questions as possible during the question and answer period. Updated information about Reclamation's implementation of the Bipartisan Infrastructure Law is always available at www.usbr.gov/bill or the Inflation Reduction Act at www.usbr.gov/inflation-reduction act. You may find the links in the chat, or they are linked from Reclamation's homepage. Also, feel free to submit your questions, comments about the Bipartisan Infrastructure Law to usbr.bill@usbr.gov or for the Inflation Reduction Act at usbr.ir.act@usbr.gov, and we will work to address your questions. We also have a growing list of frequently asked questions, and we hope that it is a helpful resource for you. We are committed to transparency throughout this process and appreciate your support of this historic opportunity to improve our nation's water infrastructure. It is now my pleasure to introduce our Commissioner, Camille Kalimlin-Tootin.
Thank you, Mary, and good morning, good afternoon to everyone. On behalf of the leadership team and the nearly 6,000 professionals who fulfill Reclamation's mission day in and day out, I just want to thank you for the opportunity to be here with you today. Our top priority is putting the resources from the Inflation Reduction Act and the Bipartisan Infrastructure Law to work in communities and on projects with the greatest impact. We are committed to ensuring these investments deliver meaningful results. And I'm proud to share that in more than 2 years since the Bipartisan Infrastructure Law was signed, Reclamation has selected 425 projects to receive more than $2.9 billion. And as you will see today, we are preparing to announce many more projects. We are just getting started. The programs and projects funded under the Inflation Reduction Act will help to increase water conservation, improve water efficiency across Western basins experiencing long-term drought, and help to prevent the Colorado River system reservoirs from falling to critically low elevations. 24 conservation implementation agreements have been signed and announced in the lower basin, and along with the system conservation pilot projects in the upper basin, protecting the Colorado River reservoirs now through 2026. And to date, we have funded 425 projects with $3 billion in bipartisan infrastructure law funding. Again, that number will continue to grow as we make upcoming announcements that we'll cover in today's slides. Just over half of those projects are water smart. BIL-funded water smart projects are expected to conserve more than 100,000 acre-feet of water per year, enough to supply about 500 million people. The next largest number of BIL projects is aging infrastructure in XM at 129 projects and counting. We're also dramatically accelerating completion of rural water projects in the Great Plains and New Mexico with the BIL funding. IRA-funded projects are coming online too, helping us to stabilize and reverse the trends on the Colorado River and reach communities that are in need. Just an example of that. When you look at Lake Mead today, the elevation is the highest it's been since May of 2021. That is in part due to the hydrology that we've been able to save, but also the record conservation volumes that we've been able to put behind Lake Mead. We also announced the first solar over canal project in the Western Hemisphere, which began with the Gila River Indian community. Construction has started, and more announcements there are coming soon. Funding opportunities for long-term solutions to continued drought across reclamation basins that are being developed and implemented, and we'll continue to work with all of you there. I know there's very much an interest for Bucket 2 on the Colorado River Basin, but also for other basin funding. So stay tuned for that this spring. But what I want to make sure that you all know is we can't do this without you. When we appreciate your continued partnership and for continuing to stay engaged as part of a successful implementation of the Bipartisan Infrastructure Law and Inflation Reduction Act as part of President Biden's Investing in America agenda. This goes back to the heart of who Reclamation is in our nearly 122-year history. Focus on our people, focus on our partnerships, and focus on investments with you. So with that, I'd like to introduce our first presenter, our Senior Advisor for Operations, Mr. Matt Maucieri. Take it away, Matt, and thanks, everyone.
Thank you, Commissioner, and thanks, Mary, for your opening comments and introductions. And thanks all of you who are online today for your interest in Reclamation's implementation of the BIL and the IRA. I am Matt Maucieri. I work in the operations group for Reclamation, and I co-lead Reclamation's BIL implementation together with Beth Hughes-Brown in our budget office, who will be on in a second. I will start us off with a few slides that you see on the screen. There's about 20 slides. I'll hand over to Beth, and we'll have a few more of our BIL and IRA subject matter experts that you may remember from previous calls that we will walk through the slides and introduce one another as we go. You can see our agenda for today. We'll start walking through there, and with that, we can begin with the next slide. So this first one is, as you can see, it's our upcoming announcements, what's going on right now. Reclamation's BIL implementation can seem pretty multifaceted with several different activity areas, and that's because it is. This is a function of the many different programs that Congress specifically funded via the language of BIL, which allows us to advance several different elements of Reclamation's modern mission. This right here is just a mix of what's happening in the next several week horizon. We do these updates quarterly, and this is what's currently cooking now. If we go to the next slide, it continues with a few more of what's happening over the next coming days and some recent photos from project site visits that we've been making to many of you out west. What you're seeing, like I said, is a mix of externally driven competitive funding opportunities, or NOFOs, and a mix with internally developed spend plans that we announce basically all year long. BIL has been a constant drumbeat of this mix of activities, integrating new funding with new programs, and in some cases, pre-existing programs. Those are translating into awards and groundbreakings, or the acceleration of construction that was already underway. On the next slide, you guys have seen this table before. We keep using it just because it's handy. It's basically a encapsulation of all of the funding we got in BIL and where it went. We refer to this as sort of the what and the how. BIL contained about 12 top-line programs that it referenced that subdivide into about 17 different areas, because some of those programs had carve-outs to make sure we allocated funding for specific parts of those programs. Note on this table the column on the far right. I will refer to that a couple slides from now. Basically, the awarding process. How does the money get designated from these program areas? We'll return to that in a couple slides from now. But for now, I'm going to hand off to Beth Hughes-Brown in our budget office, who can walk us through the next few slides.
Thank you, Matt. Next slide, please. So you heard the what and you heard the how, and the next slide will show us the where. Next slide, please. Okay, it will show us the where. In just a second, we're going to go to the next slide. So what we're talking about now is a bubble map. There you go. It's lovely, which shows where our projects are now being announced and where the funding is going. You'll notice that overall, a lot of the funding goes to places where we have the biggest drought. Not a surprise, of course. But you'll also notice that a lot of the funding of recent times has gone to areas where we've had populations that haven't had a chance to get potable water before. Places where the populations are dispersed over a wider range of geography and so on. The North Dakota area and a couple of those areas, and that's largely our rural water programs. That's so important because we consider them to be kind of the poster child for why the BIL is in existence, is to provide that water where it couldn't be done before. We are totally delighted to be a part of that. The colors there, unless you have an eye chart and can see all of this, I'm going to go ahead and tell you what it is you're looking at, are by program area. Dark orange is AI, or aging infrastructure. Light green is Colorado River. Navy is dam safety. Light yellow, desalination. Orange is DCP, or drought contingency plan. Purple, raw water. And blue is storage and conveyance. Cornflower blue, I get to name it, fancy word for blue, and those are our water smart projects. You'll see that they're all over the place. And also red, orange is water recycling, and green is watershed management. In a second, we're going to come back from one of our program leaders to talk about water smart. But for now, next slide, please. How are we reporting on and tracking our progress for BIL? It's tracked by our annual spend plans, which are updated when anything changes. So for example, when we put out an annual spend plan, we put it out at the program level. At the point where we announce the projects that it'll be allocated to, we do an addendum which says, here's what's new. We also do press releases so that we say what it is that has changed from the original spend plan as we go through the year. We get the money in great big grant programs, as Matt referred to, and then they are allocated out via the process of applying and being considered for that funding. We also have each particular program area has its own plan of how to report on and how to track the funding. For example, in aging infrastructure, each and every one of those fairly large distributions of funding has to have a repayment plan, a contract in place for how they're going to repay that, because it is a loan and it is repaid over generally 30 years back into the aging infrastructure account, from which it will be able to be allocated again once the repayments are received. Economic activity is associated with BIL is reported on the department's economic contributions report. And we send monthly allocation and obligation reports to Congress. That was required in the law. They're pretty straightforward and a little bit boring, but they give us the obligations rate and the allocation rates so that Congress can keep track of that. And of course, we do what it is you're seeing here today, which is reporting back to you on what's going on. And we've gotten good feedback on the helpfulness of these particular stakeholder presentations. I'm going to turn over now to the lead program analyst in WaterSmart. She's one of several people that work there, but she's one of our best and brightest. Avra, please. Avra Morgan.
Hi, thank you, Beth. I'm Avra Morgan. I work for the Bureau of Reclamation in our Denver office, and I work on WaterSmart. And under WaterSmart to date, we have selected 256 projects for a total of $655 million in BIL funding. That's nearly half of the total projects that have been identified by Reclamation so far under BIL. And these BIL-funded WaterSmart projects are expected to conserve more than 100,000 acre-feet of water per year once they're implemented and on the ground. And that's about enough water to supply about 500,000 people. These WaterSmart projects range in the type of project and the type of program that we have available under WaterSmart, and include everything from small-scale water efficiency projects like the one pictured here for advanced metering in Universal City, Texas, to large-scale water recycling, and also restoration projects with ecological benefits. On to the next slide. I'll hand it over back to Matt Mosieri.
Thanks, Avra. So as we said before, BIL had some new programs, but BIL also plugged new money into pre-existing projects that were already underway. Rural water projects are probably the best example of this. And while these projects existed before BIL, what BIL is doing is accelerating them toward completion faster than would have been the case without it. That includes a project that's not on this map, the Eastern New Mexico Rural Water Supply Project. Not on this map. It's a big project that crosses 3 counties. It's about 130 miles of pipe and intake structure, pump stations, water treatment plant, and several storage tanks across its length. So in a nutshell, BIL has some new and some old, and basically helping us finish stuff that would have taken several years, in some cases decades longer than it is going to take with BIL. Next slide, please. So these next two slides are a little bit of a mix of reporting metrics. There is a lot of different types of data that we are collecting and slicing and dicing, turning it into information as part of our BIL implementation. We're put on the screen here just sort of what's anecdotal and relatable about our BIL program. There's basically the takeaway from these is that BIL funding is being implemented across the reclamation portfolio on almost all of our different types of activities, from water conservation to repairing aging infrastructure, to creating new or expanded water supplies, to completing rural water and conveyance projects. It's a mix of things that by the time BIL implementation is complete, we expect will leave reclamation in the West in a much stronger position of resilience to drought and climate change than is the case today, and that those improvements will provide benefits for decades into the future. Next slide, please, and I'll hand off to Kevin Sabo in our budget office.
Thanks, Matt, and good day, everybody. My name is Kevin. I work in our program and budget office and help coordinate the Inflation Reduction Act's domestic water supply programs here at Reclamation. In the IRA, Congress appropriated $550 million to provide domestic water supply assistance to disadvantaged communities. We have been reporting in these past several meetings with you that this program has been under development, but I'm happy to say that you will be seeing the results of that preparation very soon. First, the largest of our domestic water supply assistance programs will be announced just in the next couple weeks. This offering will provide direct grants to tribes to assist in planning and design and in construction of water supply infrastructure. A second phase of that program will provide even more funds for project construction. This program will be announced soon on our website and through letters to tribal leaders throughout reclamation states. Next slide, please. You've already heard about our accomplishments with WaterSmart funding, but you haven't heard that two of these opportunities are being funded in part by the Inflation Reduction Act funds. The first is for planning and project design grants, and the second for the drought response program. These did close late last year, and we anticipate announcing project selections in the month of April. Keep an eye open for those. The planning and project design grant program for 2024 is still open, and we encourage applications before it closes in mid-May. For more information on these, either see Reclamation's WaterSmart website or go to grants.gov for the actual announcement. Next slide, please. We also have a domestic water supply program designed to provide assistance to U.S. territories. That program is going through the approval process right now, and we anticipate making a funding announcement this spring. If you represent one of the territories, please keep an eye open for that announcement. Next slide, please. And finally, Reclamation is working with other U.S. government agencies to determine if they have domestic water supply programs which could benefit from the technical expertise offered by the Bureau of Reclamation. This whole of government approach to providing water supply assistance demonstrates our commitment to be of service to disadvantaged communities. You should see an announcement on this effort soon as well. With that, let me introduce Dorian Mayhorn, a talented engineer with our Asset Management Division, to discuss the exciting events in our canal improvement program.
Thanks, Kevin. So Dorian Mayhorn, I'm in Reclamation's Dam Safety and Infrastructure Directorate. I work in the Asset Management Division. So Section 50232, canal improvement projects, we received $25 million to construct solar panels over canals. across our projects in the West. And we started that internal formulation process at the end of July of last year. We were able to announce a project last year with the Gila River Indian community for $5.65 million. And we anticipate some additional announcements, hopefully at the end of this month or next month. And with that, I will pass it off to Fernando.
Hey, good morning or afternoon, depending on where you are. My name is Fernando Castro Alvarez, and I work for the Operations Group in Washington, D.C., focused on Colorado River matters, including investments. Starting with IRA 50233, as we all know, that section of the IRA destined $4 billion to drought mitigation in the reclamation states, with priority to the Colorado River Basin and other basins experiencing comparable levels of drought. In terms of Colorado River investments, we have 3 initiatives underway. First one is the Salton Sea Agreement. The second one, the Lower Colorado System Conservation and Efficiency Program. And the third one, the Upper Colorado System Conservation and Efficiency Program. Regarding the Salton Sea Agreement, it is a $250 million agreement with the state of California, the Imperial Irrigation District, and the Coachella Valley Water District to support the state of California with investments in ecosystem restoration and dust mitigation projects, and also build technical capacity in the water agencies for Salton Sea project implementation. To date, we have obligated $72 million out of those 250, 70 for the state of California Species Habitat Conservation Project, which aims to create up to 7,000 acres of habitat and cover exposed lakebed. $2 million we have destined to build the technical capacity of the Torres Martinez tribe for Salton Sea project implementation. Regarding the Lower Colorado System Conservation and Efficiency Program, we have 2 initiatives, Bucket 1 and Bucket 2. Bucket 1 is for system conservation agreements that shore up elevations in Lake Mead. Those can be 1-year, 2-year, or multi-year agreements. And then we have Bucket 2, which are long-term solutions to continued drought and aridification. On Bucket 1, we have announced 24 system conservation agreements, 18 in Arizona and 6 in California. These agreements are expected to conserve up to 1.58 million acre-feet and are made possible by an investment of about $670 million. On Bucket 2, we have received 84 proposals for over $5 billion, and we are working through the review process of those. Announcements will be on a rolling basis, and they should begin this spring. Regarding the Upper Colorado System Conservation and Efficiency Program, we have the same 2 initiatives, mainly Bucket 1 and Bucket 2. Bucket 1, again, short-term agreements. Bucket 2, long-term solutions. On Bucket 1, we're collaborating with the Upper Colorado River Commission in the implementation of the program. In 2023, we executed 64 agreements for 37.8 thousand acre-feet with an investment of $15.8 billion. And this year, we received close to 120 proposals and are currently working through reviewing those. We're executing agreements this spring. On Bucket 2 for Upper Basin, this is a funding opportunity that's currently in development. We anticipate we will have 1 for ecosystem restoration projects and 1 for water conservation projects. Both of those will be with a long-term focus, of course. And that is it for me now, and I'll pass it to Melissa Smith in the Budget Office.
Good afternoon. I'm Melissa Smith. I work in the Program and Budget Office. And with the recent retirement of Bob Wolf, who we will miss, Sean Torpy and I are the co-leads for IRA implementation. I'm going to talk with you about the drought mitigation for other basins, and Sean will be on next to talk about emergency drought relief for tribes. The IRA legislation provided us the opportunity to support needs in other basins that are experiencing long-term drought comparable to the Colorado River Basin. We received requests for over $1.5 billion in projects, and this is much greater than what we have carved out for this category. We are reviewing recommendations and working to ensure we are maximizing meaningful results with this rare funding opportunity. But we are happy to announce we will begin rolling announcements in May. So I can turn it over to Sean Torpy now, my co-lead for implementation. Thanks.
Thanks, Melissa. Good afternoon, everyone. I'm Sean Torpy, a Senior Advisor for Policy and Administration and Melissa's co-lead on Inflation Reduction Act implementation. Section 8004, Emergency Drought Relief for Tribes. Just briefly, IRA provided $12.5 million for near-term drought relief actions to mitigate drought impacts for Indian tribes that are impacted by operation of Bureau of Reclamation water projects. And this opportunity does not require a cost share. We currently have a notice of funding opportunity open on grants.gov, which closes April 11th, 2024, so pretty soon. So I will turn it over to Chris Felton, our Manager of Financial Assistance Policy Branch, to talk about waivers. Buy America, sorry.
Thanks, Sean. So I'm Chris Felton, work in Reclamation's Mission Support Organization and manage the Financial Assistance Policy Branch. And so BIL included the Build America, Buy America Act, which requires that all iron, steel, manufactured products, and construction materials used in infrastructure projects and funded by federal financial assistance are produced in the United States, unless the project is subject to an approved waiver. And so here I'd like to share a couple recent updates that happened in the last 4 weeks. Our WaterSmart General Applicability Public Interest Waiver was approved and posted on the department's website February 14th, 2024. And this is great. We're going to get some coverage from the BABA preference on previously planned projects through the expiration date of the waiver, which is February 14th, 2026. We're also going to have coverage for awards and amendments obligated from the effective date of the waiver and through the expiration date of February 14th, 2025. Also have some information to share on our rural water general applicability public interest waiver. Public comment period closed earlier this week on March 5th. And Reclamation is currently working collaboratively with the department to review and address those comments as appropriate. Third bullet you'll see here on the slide is a resource from the Department of Interior's BABA website. There you'll find some really good useful resources and information, things such as OMB M2402, excuse me, the most up-to-date OMB memo on the Buy America preference and the implementation and the waiver process, 2 CFR Part 184, where the Buy America preference is codified. Also find other useful information in Department of Interior and Reclamation general applicability and project-specific waivers. And so now I'm going to pass things off to Kiana Denton from our HR team to provide a staffing update. Thank you.
Thanks, Chris. So I am Kiana Denton, and I work in the Human Resources Policy Office. Human capital is of the utmost importance at Reclamation, and it remains at the forefront. To date, we have hired 301 individuals in support of the infrastructure law. Additionally, there are currently 80 active job postings for Reclamation on USA Jobs. A few of the vital career opportunities we have are those such as archaeologists, engineers, environmental specialists, project management, and contract specialists. Available Reclamation postings can be found by using the QR code that has been provided. And with that, we are back to you, Matt.
Thanks, Kiana. We've said before in our BIL and IRA updates that we know that these laws bring very high expectations on reclamation. Congress and the administration enacted the BIL and the IRA expecting generational improvements to Western water infrastructure and resiliency. And while we're never able to get into all the project details on these calls, we know that these outcomes are happening because we're seeing the construction happen. We're seeing features come online, and we are moving up the completion dates on projects that our sponsors tell us would have taken decades to fund without it. These outcomes hinge on the collaboration that we have with our tribal, our water, and our power community partners. So thank you for your time today. And more importantly, thank you for all of you who have applied for BIL or IRA funding. And if you have not yet, thanks in advance for being part of the Reclamation BIL and IRA program. That brings us to the end of our slides. I will hand it back to Mary, and we'll try to answer any questions that we can from this group. Thank you.
Great. Thank you, Matt. We are extremely proud of what we've been able to accomplish so far through the Bipartisan Infrastructure Law and Inflation Reduction Act. Together, we are prioritizing water reliability and resilience to drought in the West. At this time, we will address questions you may have. Please raise your hand using the hand icon at the top of your screen, or you can submit your questions to the email usbr.bil@usbr.gov for bill questions, or usbr.ir.act@usbr.gov for Inflation Reduction Act questions. So let me scroll over here and see if we have any hands raised so far. And if anybody else, any of our hosts see them, please let me know. It looks like maybe something came into the chat. Oh, there's the chat on how to submit questions. Do we have any questions? Okay, we'll scroll through and give you just another minute in case you're struggling to find that hand raise. It's at the top of the screen there, little hand symbol. But we'll give you just another second. But if we don't see any here, and I don't see any new ones in the chat, so I think, see, oh, there is a question from Sarah Barkston. Just curious if there is a timeline for releasing details on IRA Bucket 2 for the Upper Colorado River Basin. I don't know if Melissa or Sean or maybe Fernando wants to address that.
Sure, I can take that on. Thanks for the question. We're actively working on developing the funding opportunity, and we will release it once it's ready, of course. We don't have a specific timeline at this point. We're aiming for this fiscal year. Could be as early as this spring, but more information to come very soon. Thank you for the interest.
Great, thank you, Fernando. And I don't see any other hands raised or any questions in the chat, so I will just end there. Thank you so much to our commissioner for joining us today and all of our presenters. Again, on behalf of the Bureau of Reclamation, thank you for attending today's information session. We are dedicated to transparently implementing the Bipartisan Infrastructure Law and Inflation Reduction Act. Please go to usbr.gov/bill or www.usbr.gov/inflation-reduction-act to view all scheduled sessions and the updated information, including the frequently asked questions. And the pre-recordings of these the recordings of these meetings will be posted there as well. You may also send your questions to the email addresses posted in the chat there. Thank you so much and have a great day.